Hey everyone, hope everybody is doing well today. I'm just trying to get the live stream going. Alright, well, 2022 was a wild year. It was quite stressful, yet promising. A lot of good things happened, although there's still a lot of discomfort going on. One of the things I wanted to start off is that, first of all, we're glad a lot of the mandates are gone. A lot of this COVID nonsense has been thrown out of the window, including the vaccines, and hopefully next year we're going to get some justice, but I'm going to really talk about that later on. Let's just talk about really the stock markets, as we can see here. The fact that I believe, now I did not see the significant correction that we saw in the general stock market, particularly the tech sector, NASDAQ, along with Dow Jones, S&P 500. I do see a good chance of the market recovering. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we make all-time highs, if we recover all that. I have heard there has been some recovery in the markets. However, we have to really look at the real estate market, the unemployment rates, because if that gets really out of hand and the earnings are going to be hit, because remember, earnings is very important, and a lot of the earnings of the companies have not been doing so terribly. The PE ratio isn't so bad. That if this situation gets out of hand, then I don't think this market recovery is going to go back to all-time highs. It's pretty certain that we're going to have a struggling period, and we may even go down even further. But we have to look at the indicators. However, I am pretty certain that the market's going to recover, although we have a lot of economic troubles ahead. And there's, again, a lot of fiscal expansion. We have to look at earnings. But you just have to look at the fundamentals of that too. Now, as far as inflation is concerned, it seems like inflation is starting to slow down. There's a lot of signs of deflation. Yes, there is a lot of spending. That is very important. But remember, a lot of that was due to supply chain issues. I've heard a lot of that is starting to recover, although we have to see if these plants that's been acting in this strange way is going to recover. So if we see that, we can see the inflation rate tone down, and we're seeing right now a lot of signs of deflation happening in the economy, and I wouldn't be surprised if that starts flowing down into food, energy. Gas prices are starting to fall. That's some good news. However, we have to look at the supply chains. Overall, we're seeing some recovery in that. As far as everything else is concerned, I think that the true correction in the stock market, I see it more in 2024 when the unemployment rate and the real estate market, which I'm going to get to that later on, starts to affect the larger economy. Cryptos, I'm not too optimistic. I think it's going to struggle. I don't see it hitting all-time highs. You can probably buy some light amount. I wouldn't buy significantly a lot more. But the real issue here is the real estate market. Okay? Now, I did get it right to a certain extent that the market was going to come down. I thought it was going to come down sooner. But again, we haven't been looking at the forbearances and all those other things, the moratoriums. And we're going to see some downward pressure, not only in the real estate market, but in the rental market. Although you have to keep in mind that energy costs, HOAs, all these things have been rising as well. We're already seeing real estate market in Las Vegas continue to fall. And once again, I do believe it's going to be among the hardest hit. For one obvious reason, it's not just the forbearance, but the mortgage rates are significantly going to go up. There's also a downward pressure in speculation. Speculation was one factor what led commodities went up, and now we're seeing these institutions, a lot of people have reported that they're not buying these properties so much, and they're actually releasing their properties into the market. So with the rising mortgage rates, we have slowing job growth. We're going to see downward pressure in the real estate market. Look, mortgage payments are about double of what they were about a year and a half ago. So we're going to see more downward pressure right now. Homes in the Las Vegas area are about in the 400s, okay? And I wouldn't be surprised if we go down below 400,000, although I really see the greater crash happening in 2024. Absolutely. And how is this going to affect real estate development? Because remember, the sad part is we didn't really fix the system. The Federal Reserve separating commercial banks versus investment banks. Glass-Steagall has not come back. All these loans still have been made. Now, they may not have been as dirty as maybe 2005 or 2006, but nevertheless, we still have not gone to the 1990 standards. We're going to see less housing development, less construction being done. A lot of homes are going to be released to the market. I do see some changes into real estate development as a Las Vegas Valley. I think we're going to see more of a push towards mixed use. We're seeing the Commons and a lot of other developments in the Southwest being built. I'm going to do some films about that. We're going to see a slowdown in construction. I do believe a lot of the casino projects we're seeing in Harmon with, I think, the Fertilla brothers, the Fontainebleau, are going to continue. They have their renderings. There's about 3 or 4 properties the station casinos want to build after they close 3 others. That's very, very important. I do believe they're going to continue. But again, I still wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of them say we're going to cancel it. I do Fontainebleau is going to finish and they're going to open very soon. It's hard to say about the Harmon project. Now, they're going to continue talking about it. I'm not sure if they're going to have a grand opening, the property across from the Aria. Because when the market starts to slow down, developers and builders, casino giants, they start to scale back in a lot of their products. That's one of the things you've got to really continue, because this is really mirroring what's happening in 2007. And keep in mind, unlike the last boom, we did not really see a boom in the condominiums, residential high-rises. And I think for one reason is because they probably learned their lesson from the last time, or the prices of land were not significantly high. Yeah, it's going to really mirror. History does really rhyme itself again. Now, 2023, I believe, will be the year of the justice. We're going to see more of that because we have a border crisis, and we're going to see some things shake up. I do have a good feeling that we're going to start seeing some of the border crossings start to ebb down as more and more people start to rise up. There's going to be more justice made about the 2020 riots of George Floyd. I think there's going to be a greater emphasis in racial conscious. People are going to more and more accept the fact that the races on average are not the same. But more importantly, I do believe that more of the effects of not just the truth about COVID, but the effects of the vaccine, because we're going to see more and more of these deaths start to come along. I made a video a few days ago about the vaccine. It's going to really, really shake up. Not to mention, we've seen changes in Twitter. A lot of truth and fraud is going to be exposed. This is going to really shake up the vaccine manufacturers, the mass media. They're going to continue to lose viewers. And I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of politicians in D.C. are going to be so embarrassed they're not going to run for re-election. They're probably going to resign. Many of them are going to be arrested. We're seeing a lot of justice that came out in 2022. Not to mention, I believe, closer to home, this is going to really spill over in the state of Nevada. I think a lot of these legislatures are going to get a lot of pressure, a lot of upset people in the testimonies. You're going to see a good number of people get arrested, because remember, we've seen a lot of state legislatures get arrested. They're going to resign. Not to mention, there's going to be a lot of accountability, a lot of investigations. And I do see a good chunk of the executives, particularly in the casino elites, that are going to experience a similar fate, because they were pushing the lockdowns, and not to mention the price gouging and all the other issues that's been going on. Route 91, you can just go down the list. And I've confronted these people. You've seen me do that. Keep that in mind, because remember, they profited from the lockdowns. They lied to us. They gave us fake promises. People are going to know exactly what's going on. Absolutely. And of course, there's going to be more truths about whether the last election in 2020 and beforehand, whether these were truth or not. This could spill over to the non-governmental organizations that are based on race. Unions, especially Culinary, they're going to be held accountable. I can see more protests. We're going to see more crazy crime incidents. There's going to be more push for safety and accountability. Things are going to get very shaky. But I don't think they're going to be super shaky. I think 24 is going to be a lot more shaky. And I see a lot of things becoming more and more promising. Now, I think one thing that's going to get really fired up is I wouldn't be surprised. In the next legislative session, they're going to try to raise taxes. Now, they try to do that. I don't think it's going to work like it did in 2015 with the commerce tax. I think more people are going to rise up. There's going to be more pushback. And people are going to really see how one-sided this really system is. People are going to rise up. And I think there's going to be a movement to bring more tradition, in gender roles, in culture, in values, in art, music, entertainment. And speaking of that, 23 is going to be the year where I'm going to really spread the word about my Empire project, which I've called that before. My real estate urban planning goals I'm doing on the outskirts of Clark County, the Las Vegas Valley. I'm going to be putting a lot of signs. That's why I'm here. So stay tuned. I'll have more updates. I'm thinking about putting some banners, advertising on social media. I'm working on the designs. So I'll have many more updates because people really need to wake up that our urban planning system, transportation, land use, architecture, the layout of our traffic flow, buildings, whether it's zoning, we need some significant changes. And we've done a lot of mistakes, for the most part, after the 1920s. Because, for one thing, these high fuel prices really waking us up that not every trip has to be made by the car, except if you live in a large lot home, or depending on what kind of trip you're really doing. We want to do some basic errands, and we really don't need to rely on cars so much. And more importantly, we don't really need to decrease the number of percentage of people that live in detached homes. Because that's a myth that we would need to really uncover. But anyway, what do you think 2023 is going to offer? I'm more optimistic about the markets. I'm more optimistic that justice is going to come along. Please leave a comment below. I'm going to be waiting for about a minute. What do you guys think? My goodness, it's just things feeling a little uncomfortable, very upside down, but it's good that a lot of people are starting to wake up. Yeah. I think household debt is going to be a serious issue. It's rising, a lot of defaults, less consumer spending. Because remember, a lot of people that come to the Strip, especially, they use their credit cards. And the Strip is not often that busy as I could remember. All right, I'll give you about some time for you to want to comment. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Please spread this video. And hopefully my forecasts come the way I hoped it to be. See you guys soon.